We're at Cannibal, joined by Kidnap Kid. You played earlier today. Awesome set. Mexico, treating you well so far?
Yeah, it's been very lovely so far. You know, really great party down there, and Mexico is always a pleasure to be in. So yeah.
You've been here a couple years now. Has there been much change for the 10-year party here, or is it still pretty much going along the same when you first showed up?
It's similar vibes. I'd say the main change is when I first came to this festival, this beach here extended about 20 meters that way, and it's since eroded. Like, you know, the whole coastline is actually completely changing, but party-wise, it feels like very much the same vibes. I think there's maybe even more people than I've ever seen here before for the 10-year anniversary, but it's, you know, it's still got the same feel that it had a few years ago. So yeah, it's always good fun.
Do you get any other venues or festivals that sort of feel like this, or is this like a once-a-year type thing?
It has a very unique setup because it's, you know, it's spread across a town, so it's a festival in the loose kind of sort of term, and you get to be going to restaurants, hanging out on the beach in the day. It's not like you're camping in like a muddy field and it's the same thing. I'm referencing UK festivals here, but it's a very unique setup here, and like I've been staying up in Tulum up the coast, and you can do a whole super relaxing thing in the day, walk around the jungle, then come and party at night. So I think, you know, nowhere else has that amazing setup. So it's, yeah, very unique in that way.
Do you get a bit of a break every once in a while, or is like BPM, you're in, you do it, you're out?
So in previous years, it's been very intense. This year, I decided to take a more relaxed approach. So on days when I've not been playing, I've not been partying and just taking it easy, getting some dinner and that sort of thing. So I think you can make of it what you want, really. But yeah, it's been nice this time.
Now, I know you've been asked a handful of times before about the name. How did it come along?
So the shortest possible version, it's like a half an hour story if you want to get into it, really, but the shortest possible version is I accidentally faked my own kidnapping when I was 16 or I think 17, and it all went like terribly wrong, and there was like helicopters out looking for me and armed police, and it was such a waste of resources that I actually got taken to court for it and ended up in like young offenders for half a year. It was like a whole terrible thing that I accidentally did, and so I got a name from it, basically. Yeah.
You've had a chance to play a handful of places around the world. Is there somewhere you haven't been able to go to?
Interesting. There's nowhere that's been like completely inaccessible. I guess the area that I've done like the least touring in that I'd love to do more in is Asia. I feel like they've got a big dance music scene exploding over there, and I'd love to spend some more time out there over the next few years. Yeah.
If you could name a couple artists that have really inspired you in the production that you've made, whether it's what first got you into it or what sort of says, okay, you know what, I really like what you're doing now. Maybe I can sort of grab something off of it. Who would those be?
Sure. Some guys that I always fairly consistently look to are Adriatic off the Dynamic label. I mean, like, they just kind of production inspirations for me, how stripped back they managed to make everything but still so engaging. They're really great. I guess stepping away from that, people who kind of first inspired my sound and that sort of thing would be Moby. He's someone I really look to, with his kind of super chilled out but still really captivating ethereal sound I really love. So yeah, that'd be two names that I'd give.
That's funny because we were talking about it in the cab over. It was almost 2 years ago to the day that we saw Moby play in Toronto at an event called Burr, and it was minus 25 or so in the snow on a beach like this. They tried to do it that way, and Moby was the headliner, which was pretty funny. So a little different. So I'm very happy to be here in the nice and the warm. Is there sort of a set of gear that you lean towards in production, or are you pretty open and flexible with what you have?
So I use Reason to produce with, which is not very common, and it doesn't take external VSTs. So I have a few like synths that I use, but I tend to just work mainly in audio. So I just recording my just live piano and percussion, and tend to build tracks that way. Rather than like individual pieces of gear, it's just live audio recordings, and then I start to build from there.
Do you produce on the road, or is it really studio time so you can sort of set yourself in the right mode and go from there?
I consistently try to produce on the road and fail every time. I don't know what it is. I just need that focus of being locked away in my studio. It's so comfortable there, and it sounds perfect. And on a plane with headphones on, every time I try and start some ideas, and it never comes to fruition. So I've kind of just given up, really. I might as well just watch some TV shows or something. And I'd love to be able to utilize that time, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem to work for me.
Now, I know almost everybody I've ever talked to has said the actual travel part is the worst part of being on the tour. What's the second worst part of being on the tour?
That's a good one. I mean, travel's kind of boring and just, fairly monotonous. The second worst thing, I guess, just being away from friends and family is, you're out here having an amazing time, so there's nothing to complain about. But similarly, I live with all my dearest friends in London, and half the year I don't get to see them. So I have nothing to complain about, but I guess, I'd like to spend more time with just the people you love, and it's always nice when you can bring them with you, but it's not always the case.
At what point did you realize that this is what you'd like to step into for the next foreseeable future, and you could actually make a go of it? And what were you doing before?
The point at which I was became the decision that I wanted to do it was when I was 15, really early. I was like, I love electronic music. I want to be writing and performing this as long as I can. The point at which I actually realized it was potentially going to happen was probably when I was 20, 21. I was just finishing up my degree in the UK, and I started to release some music, and it was getting a little bit of traction, and I was playing some shows during my last year of university, and I was like, oh my god, this might actually be a possibility. It was like it was a pipe dream for so long, and then when it actually started to pick up, I was very, very excited, and that was 4 years ago now, and it's just been growing ever since then. So I'm still amazed that I'm here, really.
Do you have an original song or production or remix that you still go back to and go, I can't believe I made that at that point of time?
Yeah, the track that kicked everything off for me was a track called Veil. 4 or 5 years ago now. I've never really released anything before that properly. It was the first one on the label, and it just did so well. It got iTunes Electronic Track of the Year for my first release, and it just catapulted me into this whole world. And looking back, I'm like, I'd have no idea how I made that song, because if I tried to sit down and do that now, I couldn't. It was just this weird moment in time where it just came out of me, and I'm still really proud of that one. And that was the beginning of everything. So,
but there might be something forthcoming that is just as inspiring or amazing. So what do you have on the line?
I hope so. You keep on churning out music and hope that occasionally there's some little pieces of magic thrown in there, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Coming up this year, I've got quite a lot of music coming out. I have a new single coming out in 2 months' time, so at the beginning of March. It'll be on my label. That's like a vocal thing, quite acoustic, and then I'm going to follow that up with a club release in May, I think is the plan. But no titles or anything fully locked in yet to talk about, unfortunately.
And leading into 2017, we just left 2016. Almost everybody seems to have been very happy to get out of 2016. Is that the case for you, or was 2016 personally pretty good? Or, could 2017 be a little better?
General world chaos aside, 2016 was actually perfectly nice year for me. I did loads of great touring, put out some great music. It was the start of my record label, so it's actually been personally a year that I'll look back on fondly, everything aside. But there's always room to grow, and feel like I'm in a more comfortable place now than I was a year ago. So I'm feeling good about the upcoming year.
And if anyone's trying to get content to you for that label, how would they reach you?
Just get at me on Twitter. I read everything that's on there, and if anyone's sending music, I'll always respond. So that's just the easiest way. Yeah.
What do you have for the next couple weeks, months, or do you get a little bit of a break?
So tomorrow I'm headed up to Florida. I'm on Holy Ship for the next week. So that should be a fun festival, and then back to the UK after that. end of January, February is some European dates and mainly studio time to get these releases for the year arranged and set up. So.
And I guess quickly, because the radio show is pretty Canadian focused, is there a Canadian artist or maybe a Canadian tour date that you hope to get to in the next little while?
So I mean, I've always had some great gigs in Canada. Actually, I've never been to Ottawa, but other cities I've really enjoyed. Canadian artist that I'm really enjoying in a minute. She does a completely different style to me, but I just think her music is amazing. I'm correct in saying Rez is Canadian, right? REZZ. She doesn't do house music. She does like very bassy stuff, but I've been super impressed with her production. So she's someone I'm enjoying very much.
Well, thank you so much, and I wish you the best of the rest of your time here, and then up to Florida on the way home.
Thank you very much. Yeah, pleasure to talk to you. Hey, this is Kidnap Kid. I'm here with Amplified Radio Presents at Mexico BPM. Hey, this is Kidnap Kid, and you're listening to Amplified Radio Presents.